Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
I still find myself not fully embracing, I don't know, whatever it is about them now. And I feel bad saying that because they're a part of my body. But I think what it is no matter what they look like, I will remember that I had breast cancer. I don't think I can fully forget that I had that mastectomy and all the emotion that went with that, no matter what procedure I had now. Yes, it improved the aesthetic of them, but I think I understand more now that that isn't actually what I was maybe hoping to find. I think what I was hoping to find is something that made me forget that I had all that and forget that they aren't mine and forget the loss that I experienced. I'm Jessica Valant. I'm a physical therapist, women's health expert, and Pilates teacher, and my goal is to help all women feel strong, safe, and secure in their bodies. In this podcast, I'll share expert advice, facts, amazing guests, stories, compassion, and hope to help you meet your body in all seasons of life. Hi, and welcome back to Meet Your Body. I am so happy to have you here today. We are talking about fat grafting as a post-mastectomy revision surgery. And you might be thinking that you have no idea what that means, and that's okay. I didn't have any idea what that meant either until a year and a half ago. So this is for anyone who has had a mastectomy, has a loved one who's had a mastectomy, has been diagnosed with breast cancer, so a mastectomy might be in your future. This is for you. I am telling you my experience with this surgery. I was diagnosed with breast cancer 2 years ago. And I have multiple resources for you if you are new to this diagnosis. If you're new here and you want the entire history, I do have all of that. So I have episodes about how I was diagnosed, frequently asked questions. I have an episode about how you can support someone with breast cancer. So if you have a loved one with breast cancer and you want to know how you can support them or even gifts they might like when they're going through it, I have episodes for that. And then I also have some YouTube workouts for cording after mastectomy, post-mastectomy exercises, those kind of things. So I do have all of that, and I will have links for that below for my full free resource guide, and then some of those videos and podcasts also. So I'll have those links below if you want to kind of backtrack after this and get the full history, the full story behind it, all of that. Today, we're talking specifically about fat grafting because if you have followed along and you followed this journey with me, you might know that a year ago now, I had a revision surgery done and it was a fat grafting procedure. And I told all of you it was happening, like I talked about it on Instagram, and then I really never did a follow-up on how it went, if I was happy with it, if I was glad I had had it done, if I would have it done again. And I get consistent DMs from many of you I know going through the same journey, wanting that information. So it's only fair that I come back now and tell you all of that. So that's why I'm here. So we're going to go through all just the facts of what fat grafting is to start. So what that even means, what that surgery is, who it's for, why you might have it done, what happens during it, what you can expect from recovery. All right. So that's going to be the first portion. Then the second portion, I'm going to layer it on with my experience. So I'll tell you exactly why I had it done, what I experienced, and whether I would do it again, like what my experience has been. So we'll cover both sides. All right. So let's dive in. So this specific surgery is known as a couple things. Typically, it's known as a fat grafting procedure or a fat grafting surgery after mastectomy. Also, it's kind of considered as a category a post mastectomy revision. And you can have various types of post mastectomy revision surgeries. This is a type. This would be considered a post mastectomy revision surgery. If you were to look it up or Google it, it's also called an autologous fat transfer. But that's a mouthful. That's a big word. Typically, we just call it a fat grafting procedure after mastectomy. So why would you have this done? Well, one thing that I was not aware of, I think most of us aren't. So here's something just to keep in mind if you were in this situation. And I kind of was thinking a year after my mastectomy, why didn't I know this? Would I have made different choices? Just different things. When you're in the midst of a cancer diagnosis, it's probably typically a surprise. It's very scary. It's very confusing. And you are inundated with so many doctor's appointments and so much information. Most of it around saving your life, really. What do I need to do? What are the steps here? What testing needs to be done? What has to be done to improve my lifespan? As it should be. So that is everyone's main priority. So I just want to say that you have made the decisions that were right for you in that hard time. Okay. Honor that. Give yourself grace, give yourself patience. Whatever comes next, like this revision stuff, this is about aesthetics. That's what a fat grafting procedure is about. It is literally about aesthetics, how the procedure looks. So in some ways, you can't really compare those two. And I think they get enmeshed together, right? In our minds a little bit. They do for me. If I had done something different the first time around, maybe I wouldn't have needed to do the fat grafting. Did I make a bad decision the first time around that makes me need to do this? Or you can't do that because it's two completely different situations. And again, mindsets and thought process and decision-making processes. Doctors sometimes are different. So I want you to give yourself some grace and patience around that. And maybe you already have, but for me, that was a little bit of a hard kind of line to walk a little bit because I just didn't understand at all going through the mastectomy, what some of the aesthetic differences would be after. And also, if I had understood, I would not have changed my decision. All right, just know that I would not. And if you want to know my decision-making process around the mastectomy, again, go back and listen to those previous episodes. So I would not have changed my decision. I will say that right now. This is, again, two different things. The first one was making the absolute best decision for myself, my specific diagnosis, how widespread the tumors were, and then everything that came with that. So making that decision, and then knowing in the future, I might have some other decisions to make layered upon that, but not putting pressure on myself to know everything that might happen in the future and make a decision based on that, because you can't. You make the decision that's best for you in the moment, right? Okay. So now, what happens when you have a mastectomy? And there's one other thing I have to clarify. This really is pretty specific for those of us who have a mastectomy and then get implants afterwards or do a flap or a transfer procedure. It typically isn't going to be a part of your revision long term if you get a mastectomy and you decide to stay flat, all right? And you don't do any kind of reconstruction. That's just an FYI. So that's what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to talk about my experience, which is a mastectomy straight to implant. So I had a double mastectomy and I went straight to implant that same surgery. So what happens when you have a mastectomy is every single bit of tissue of your breast is removed. We are talking everything. Everything is removed except the skin. So you have a complete hollow area, right? And then you have skin. And if you get implants, then they put the implants in and then they'd lay the skin back down on top of it. I am simplifying this, obviously, but that's what happens. So when you come out of mastectomy, you're very swollen. It's an intense recovery process. You're very swollen. But over time, as your body heals, as the swelling goes down, you can very typically, and again, I didn't know this, so I was a little bit surprised, but now I've found out it's very normal, very typical that you will get rippling. It almost looks like the rippling on a raisin. That's the best way I can explain it. So rippling and dimpling. And that makes sense when you think about it, because when they took out all the breast tissue, they also take out the fat. They take out everything that makes our breasts supple and soft and just normal looking. That is all gone. And just an implant comes in, or possibly a flap if you've had like a lat flap procedure done or a DEIP done. And then the skin gets laid on top of that. So there's none of that tissue underneath to, again, make it soft, supple, those kind of things. So rippling can happen, and it happened quite a bit on mine. And so if I was like standing upright, or even arching my back a little bit, like if I was stretching it, then you couldn't tell. In clothes, you couldn't tell whatsoever. The only time I could tell is just it was me in the shower. I could look down and see it. But that's what it's very common after a mastectomy, especially if you go to implant, or again, if you possibly have the DEIP procedure, to have this rippling happen. And so what happens is fat grafting means that they take your own fat from somewhere else in your body, they clean it, they process it, they do all of that, and they do it through liposuction. So they do liposuction on some part of your body to remove your own fat. They process it, they inject it then into your breasts, and all around the breasts, they inject it to give you that soft, full look again and remove the wrinkling in the dimpling. So that's what fat grafting is, and that is why it would be done. Okay. So again, it kind of gives you that more natural look. It's done in an outpatient surgery typically. So you are in and out that day. It is under anesthesia. It's a major surgery. So you are put under anesthesia. And you can have it done multiple times. I actually know someone who's had it done 5 times because she wants to continue to help kind of the aesthetics and the look of that. And that would depend on, I think, so many things. What procedure you had to begin with, what your body type is, what your goals are, the clothes you wear, all of those kind of things. But yes, you can have it done multiple times. So that is what it is. And that's why you might have it done. So I think we covered the benefits. Again, the benefits would be aesthetically. So that's how you look aesthetically. It would give you a more supple, round, more natural looking breast and remove that dimpling and the wrinkling and the rippling, I should say. That's really what it kind of looks like. I mean, it really does look like a raisin, like the up and down ridges on a raisin. That's kind of what it looks like. All right. So that would be the benefits. That's why you would have it done. So risks. I mean, it's a surgery. So all your normal risks of a major surgery. It's also not necessarily a forever fix. This is the one that can, trip any of us up, kind of, is that it's just not a forever fix. It is your own fat. Your body can metabolize it like it would metabolize fat anywhere else in your body. So I would say specifically, if you're very active, if you exercise a lot, if you want to lose a lot of weight, you're going to lose weight there as well. It is your fat tissue. So you're going to metabolize some of that fat, which means that dimpling and rippling can come back. It also will involve the liposuction, like I said. So I'm going to get to this in my personal experience and I'll talk more about it. But you're kind of almost having 2 surgeries a little bit when you go under for the fat grafting. They're injecting the fat into your breast. So that's a part of the surgery. But the major part of the surgery is actually the liposuction piece. And that's how they get fat out. So don't let that word scare you, but that is just how they do it. They need to get the fat from a different part of your body, which is typically going to be your stomach or your inner or outer thighs. Inner or outer thighs or stomach are typically where it happens. And so you have the recovery and the risk from the liposuction itself, which can be bruising, it can be pain, some scars on wherever they took the fat from. You're going to have small scars. Some people talk about having a little dimpling action there where the scar was, and then pain with that. So those would be the risks involved in general. And like I mentioned, just any overall risk from having major surgery. And then let's talk about recovery, because I know that's a big piece too. Believe it or not, the recovery for the breasts themselves, that part isn't the biggest piece to this. The biggest piece is actually the recovery from the liposuction. So in general, there's minimal downtime, at least not compared to the mastectomy. So you will not have drains. And I know there's absolutely individual nuance here and situations that will arise. But in general, you are not dealing with drains again at all after this procedure. You typically are not going to be very bruised or even very sore in your breasts, maybe for a day or two. But believe it or not, that part recovers pretty quickly. You do have a longer time recovering from the pain and the bruising from the liposuction piece of it, from where they harvested the fat. You typically will need to wear compression garments. And I have seen anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks. My surgeon was definitely on the longer side. I wore compression garments from 6 to 8 weeks. And some of that, the biggest piece is for recovery and healing in the liposuction site. So if you've had it taken from the legs, you're going to wear compression garments on your legs. If you've had it taken from your stomach, there's compression garments for your stomach that you'll wear. And I wore those, 24 hours a day, just when I wasn't in the shower, basically. And then I moved to wearing them just for workouts for a while. I kind of stepped my way down, but I wore them 6 to 8 weeks wearing compression garments. So for me, the consideration was I had the surgery in the winter. That was my surgeon's recommendation. She knew I was really active. We go to Hawaii in the summer. She said, the last thing you're going to want to do is wear hot, tight compression garments in the summer. I said, you're right. So we did mine in the winter, and I could easily wear my compression garments under sweatpants. I even ended up wearing them under jeans after I recovered. And so that was the compression garments piece. And then for activity, I really laid low and just walked for about 10 days. And then I was released to do most of my activity after that. I didn't have a lot of restrictions except being a little bit slower. She wanted me to just be slower, getting back to lifting weights with my legs and doing cardio. But even that, 2 to 3 weeks, and I was released to do anything I wanted. I will say, and I'll get to this with my experience, I didn't feel ready to do that, right? So I was definitely weaker and lifting lighter, but I was only down for about, like I said, maybe 10 days. And then I started light lifting weights after that. So the recovery time, again, compared to mastectomy, it is not anything like that. But keep in mind, it's also not a walk in the park. You are not back to normal activity the next day. You had major surgery. So I was back to exercise, and most of the things I've read is typical for people. They can go back to their light exercise 10 to 14 days, go back to work after about a week, depending again on what your work is. And then your lifting restrictions slowly start to be removed, and you're allowed back to exercise really generally at 2 weeks, building back up slowly. All right. So that gives you an idea of why you might have fat grafting, the decision process around it, what it is, what recovery tends to look like. In general, I'll also tell you insurance does cover it. Again, I know insurance is different for everyone, but in general, this is something that's covered by insurance, which is good to know. I think that's helpful to know. So if you're looking at this procedure, make sure you look into that. All right. So now that you have all that, we're going to get into my personal story. I will give you the ins and outs. I will give you all the details about what I experienced with it and now what I'm experiencing a year later. But before that, a quick word from our sponsor. I have had a caseload of individual consults over the past week, ranging from a couple in their 70s wanting to gain some strength for doing stairs, to a woman hoping to manage her pelvic floor prolapse, to a 20-year-old woman recently diagnosed with PCOS. One similarity in my recommendations to all of these folks includes needing more hydration. I think it's safe to say we all know in theory we need to stay hydrated. The question is, do we really do it? Do we actually drink enough water to support our body, support our systems, our recovery, and our energy? Probably not, if we actually think about it. Enter electrolytes. Electrolyte drinks can basically boost your hydration in that you aren't only getting water, you're getting all the extras like potassium to really hydrate your cells. Think of it like an IV drip without all the fuss. I've tried many electrolyte drinks on the market, and Cure is my favorite. It's plant based with no added sugars, so it fits in perfectly with my lifestyle. Not only that, the flavors are seriously delicious, making staying hydrating easy and refreshing. You just pour the powder packet in a glass of water, and you've literally boosted your hydration instantly. Staying hydrated isn't just about water, you also need electrolytes. That's why I love Cure. It's clean, tastes great, and actually works. For Meet Your Body listeners, you can get 20% off your first order at curehydration.com/MYB with code MYB. And if you get a post-purchase survey, make sure to let them know you heard about Cure right here. It really helps to support the show. And here's a bonus. Cure is FSA and HSA approved, so you can use your FSA or HSA funds to stay hydrated the smart way. Don't just drink more water, upgrade it with Cure. And now back to our show. Okay, so now we're here for the down and dirty of my personal experience with having fat grafting post mastectomy. So again, to review like where I was, so you have context. I had a bilateral mastectomy straight to implant 2 years ago. All right, so in late 2023. And I had as great of an experience, I guess, as you can have during a really, really hard time and a hard surgery and hard recovery, meaning I was happy with my surgeons. I had no infections. I had no, horrible side effects I had to deal with. My scars came along nicely. You can hardly see my scars. So I know I've been very lucky in all of those aspects. I would say like 5 to 6 months after surgery is when I really started to notice rippling, as I mentioned. That was for me the biggest thing. I mean, just all along both breasts. And as I mentioned, like no one else knew. No one else could tell. In my clothes, in my tank tops, in my swimming suits, you couldn't tell at all. I mean, I was happy as can be. And even at home, like my husband said, I never notice it. You look great. And, you look completely great. I don't notice it at all. I mean, super happy for all the support I have at home. But I noticed it. I noticed it when I was in the shower. I noticed it every time I put on deodorant. I noticed it every time I put on lotion, especially if I would kind of hollow out my chest, like I was bending forward, to do lotion down on my legs, to shave my legs. Every time I shave my legs, I found myself avoiding looking at them because I noticed it. And I have to say, I am not someone completely focused on aesthetics in the way that, yes, I care. I mean, absolutely. I do my hair. I put on makeup. I work out. Like aesthetics are on my mind. I have also been through numerous surgeries. I have had my entire pelvic floor redone. I have multiple scars all over my body. I have had to lose modesty because of the surgeries that I've had done. So in that way, I very much have had to come to terms with my body not looking the same after certain procedures and embracing it as it is and what I can change and what I can't change. Like I've had to go through that journey. So I feel like I have a very healthy relationship with my body in that way. This felt different. And I think it's because I did a lot of soul searching during that time to figure it out. I think it's because every time that I looked at them and saw that, I was reminded of what I had been through and what I had lost. And granted, I did not, you guys, I mean, I'll just tell you right here, I did not have breasts I was proud of before my mastectomy. I mean, I was like flat chested. I had nursed 2 kids for like a total of over 3 years between the 2 of them. It's not like I had great breasts by any means, but they were mine. Like they were what I knew, right? That's what I knew. And then to go through the emotional part of cancer diagnosis um, and to go through the reconstruction and the mastectomy, and to now have a health history of breast cancer. And, that changes all the choices you can make for yourself from a health standpoint going forward. And what does that mean for my daughter? So every time I saw them doing that, it's like it just reminded me of that I had cancer. That's what it reminded me of, because there were times I could forget. But every time I looked down, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. And so I decided for the first time in my life that I was going to do a surgery that really was just for me, because none of my surgeries had been that way. They had been really non-elective, like they needed to be done. But this was the first one. I said, you know what? I think I will regret not trying this. I'll regret not doing it. And I'm just going to do it for me, because I want to see if I can feel better with these guys, with this new part of my body. Like maybe we can form a little bit deeper partnership. And so that's what it was for me. That is why that I really thought I would regret not trying it. And then if you want to hear, honestly, a little teeny piece of why I did it when I did. So I did it, I had my mastectomy in January, and then I had the revision in December. And some of it is because I had met my deductible that year. So if I was going to do it, I kind of knew I was going to try to do it within that year to save thousands of dollars. That might sound silly, but honestly, that was a part of it. I knew I didn't want to just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. So I did all the mental piece that I needed to and the prep work to get ready. I knew all the risks. I absolutely knew that it might not take forever, that it might not take at all, that it might not improve them. I knew all that. And I went in anyway, because like I said, I just knew I would regret not trying it, and I would regret not doing it. So that's what I did. I did all the prep for it. And I have a podcast all about that too, on how to prep for surgery. So I did all the prep for it. My friend drove me to the hospital because I wanted my husband with the kids. So I had my friend drive me to the hospital really early, had my surgery. My husband was there right when I woke up, came home. And again, having gone through a lot of surgeries in my life, it was really no different than any of the others when it comes to waking up from anesthesia, coming home. I mean, gosh, I was just happy not to have drains, probably. And my legs were wrapped. So my legs were wrapped very tightly with ACE bandages. And my doctor said, you are not going to touch these for 3 days. You cannot shower, and don't touch these bandages for 3 days. After that, you can shower, and then you're going to wear your own compression garments, which, by the way, they did not send me home with, and I was in charge of getting on my own. I will put links to those below, because that was a journey in and of itself. And I did find a couple that were more comfortable than others. So I'll put those below. And so that was what happened. And then I was able to shower, and then I wore compression garments for, like I said, like 6 to 8 weeks. And I took them off to shower, but I had to wear them to bed too. Now, for me, the fat grafting came from my legs. That was my doctor's choice. She said it was the only place she could find anything to take. So that was it. And it was inner and outer thighs. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scars, just teeny little dots. 2 on each outer thigh, 1 down by my knee, 1 up by my butt. So 1 low, 1 high, and then kind of the same part on my inner thigh, 1 low, 1 high. Like I said, I can find them, but most people probably can't see them unless you're looking for them. And I was really worried about having permanent dimpling in the scars, which can happen, because I thought, why am I giving up one thing for another scar, kind of, But I don't have that. And I also, FYI, I am serious about rehab and scars after I have surgeries. I do scar massage. I use vitamin E. I use my red light. I do brushing for lymphatic. So I am serious about that, which helps scarring a lot. But I don't have that dimpling. So the scarring from my lipo piece is actually not bad whatsoever. I don't have an issue with that. And so that was my experience. I'm thinking if there's anything else to tell you about that part before I get into the real part about the lipo. Oh, exercise. So yeah, I was walking almost right away, just light walking as you do after surgery, as you're supposed to. And I was lifting light weights again, really 10 days later, at least for my arms. And I was doing some Pilates. And again, this is gentle. I am not saying I'm back to full strength whatsoever, but I was definitely doing activity within what I was allowed to do and what felt comfortable. And I would say it was probably 12 weeks, I bet, before I felt like I was back to my normal workout routine. Still, though, on some lighter weights. Like I was not back up to my full weights, keeping in mind I was lifting weights pretty heavy. So I wasn't back to full weights yet, but I was back to a normal workout routine. And then probably about, I bet at 6 months, I was back to thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to get stronger again. Like I'm going to up this. And now I don't really think about it anymore. It's been a year. I tell everybody when you have surgery, you have to give it a year. And so I feel strong. I don't feel any limitations really in my strength at all from that surgery. So when it comes to getting back into activity, it was not difficult. It just, you need to follow the procedure, right? You have to be intentional. You have to be slow. You have to let your body recover, let it heal. But I definitely got back with a pretty smooth process. All right. So the lipo piece, everyone told me that would be very painful. And they were correct. My legs were extremely painful, extremely painful, and extremely bruised. And when I say painful, it's funny. I actually don't mean walking around necessarily. I mean, I was stiff, and sore. I mean to the touch. Oh my goodness. And having 2 young kids who love to snuggle, I just remember having to constantly say, you can't touch my legs, can't touch mommy's legs. And we're talking for months. You can't touch mommy's legs. They're really sore. So that did last longer than I anticipated, the pain in my legs and that extreme tenderness. And then what I experienced, and I don't think this is what everyone experiences, but I'm just going to tell you what I experienced. I experienced this tightness in my adductors, in my inner thighs, that to this day has not gone away. A year later, a year and 2 months later, I have this tight cording in both inner thighs that I had never had before, along with some back pain that came up after the procedure that I'm just assuming is connected to that tight inner thigh. And again, I don't think most people get that. I'm just telling you I did. And that has been significant to me because it has remained to this day. And I have to really work to stretch my inner thighs, to massage my inner thighs, to work those inner thighs to try to get them not so tight and not so painful. When it comes to the leg pain, yes, that has resolved completely. I touch them, I massage them, I work out, I'm lifting heavier legs than I ever have before. All of that's fine. I'm just surprised at that residual inner thigh tightness that I did not expect. And again, I don't put it past me and my body to experience something outside the norm. So I'm not saying you're going to feel that, but I can't not tell you that that's what I have. So that's one thing I've experienced kind of long term. And then let's just talk about the aesthetics, right? Like why I had it done. Absolutely from the get-go, it was better. Like no doubt that rippling was better. It was still there a little bit. Like if I contorted myself into certain positions, it was still there a little bit. But it was no doubt better. And really, I had no breast pain, no breast bruising, anything like that. All the pain and stuff I had to work on really was in my legs. And so that was great. It's been, like I said, 14 months now. And I will say it's gone down some. I think my body has probably metabolized that fat somewhat. So it's not as good as it was, but it's definitely not back to where it was. I would say at this point, I did not have 100% fixing or, resolution of the rippling, but I wouldn't have expected to. I would say I had maybe 75% to 80%, which I think is pretty darn good. And then now I bet it's down to like 50%. So 50% improvement from where it was, which again, I am happy with. Great. I have no problem with any of that. This is what I will say. My self-awareness when people ask, are you glad you had it done? One, yes, because I knew from the get-go I would have regretted not doing it. So yes, I'm glad I had it done. And that's how I go into surgeries. Like that's how I try to go into things. I have done a lot of work to be a partner with my body over the years, a lot of work. And these are the times that it comes into play and really helps is when I can make a decision with my body, when we're ready to make it with all the information we have available to us, knowing that there's also going to be risks and unknowns. And I want to go in saying, okay, I'm ready for whatever comes next. I don't know what that's going to be, but I don't want to look back and say, I wish I would have waited or I wish I wouldn't have done it. I went in with all the information I had, knowing I wanted to do it. So no, I do not regret it. That being said, if I knew then what I know now, would I have done it? I don't know. So I don't regret it because I did the best with the information I had. And I didn't want to go through life regretting it and wishing I would have had done it. But I don't know now if I necessarily would. That's just me personally. Like I said, I have a friend who's done it 5 times. So obviously it works really well for some people. But here's the thing for me. One is, the leg stuff kind of bums me out sometimes. And I wish that I didn't have some of that residual soreness and tightness that I have. I'm hoping it still goes away. I just don't know. But I think the bigger piece is that for me, I still find myself, interestingly enough, avoiding looking at my breasts in the shower. I still find myself not fully embracing, I don't know, whatever it is about them now. And I feel bad saying that because they're a part of my body. But I think what it is no matter what they look like, I will remember that I had breast cancer. I will remember that they're not what they were before. I will always remember that they hurt because they kind of do. I had nerve grafting also. So I'm not fully numb, but I'm numb in some places. I have pain in others. My nipples still hurt. I don't think I can fully forget that I had that mastectomy straight to implant and all the emotion that went with that, no matter what procedure I had now. So it's just interesting having that self-awareness that yes, it improved the aesthetic of them, but I think I understand more now that that isn't actually what I was maybe hoping to find. I think what I was hoping to find is something that made me forget that I had all that and forget that they aren't mine and forget the loss that I experienced. And the way my body's changed now, again, with the pain that I have. And I think I was hoping for that probably subconsciously, which didn't happen. And I'm going to say, obviously, now it didn't happen. But I hadn't really put all that together. So I don't think it matters what procedure I would have done. I still need to just work on those pieces. Also, the flip side is, I probably still do want them to aesthetically improve. So if there was a procedure deemed safe and FDA approved that I could have that was some kind of fat grafting, not using my own fat, if I could skip the lipo piece, I very well might do that. And I will say, when I saw my doctor last year for this procedure, she said that that was coming. And they were doing some procedures that were just in office, like coming in office and leaving, where they were doing some remodeling and some injecting of a non-organic substance, I believe. to help, but that insurance didn't cover it. It was out of pocket. They hadn't seen, long-term results yet with it. So she recommended this for me first. And I keep that in the back of my mind because I stay open to things. I give myself grace to change my mind and to adjust my goals and to do whatever I need to live fully in this body. So I'm not sure where I'll be with all that, but that is intriguing to me to learn more about in the future. But no, I would not choose to go through the lipo piece again right now. But again, it's because I've been through it. I don't regret it. I hope you hear me saying that. Like, I absolutely do not regret it. I also pretty much absolutely believe not everyone is going to have the long-term kind of tightness I've had with it. But I don't think I would choose to go through the grafting again in the future now, a second one. Like, I wouldn't do a second one to get just a little bit better results and go through the lipo piece again. Because that part I would like to say no to in the future. I don't want to go through that part again. So that's my very long journey story for you, laying it all out. Like, that's it. You can do what you need to with this information. I am definitely not discouraging you from doing it. I think you need to do whatever you need after a scary, hard time, which is what breast cancer and mastectomies are. You need to do whatever you need to do and want to do to feel better in your body and to be that partner with your body. And a lot of people, like I said, have amazing, awesome results. And I would say I'm one of them. I mean, I think I'm definitely on the positive end, that I have had positive results from this. Also, the introspection I've done, the experience I've had has been really interesting to realize that might not have been ultimately what I was looking for. So I need to come to terms with all the other pieces of where my body is and what I'm left with after breast cancer and after mastectomy. And then maybe make whatever decisions I need to make in the future, or maybe not make any, and maybe sit with this. And that will be okay too. I hope that helps. I will have, like I said, multiple links and resources for you below. And if you are in the middle of this journey, I just am with you. You're not alone. And I wish you the very best. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening today. I would love it if you could take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It means a lot to us, and it helps our content get out to more women who need it. You can find more of my resources at my website, jessicavalant.com, or find me on YouTube at Jessica Valant and Instagram at Jessica S. Valant.